here today. Well, Toni, I'm so glad you're here. I want to let everyone know that I met Toni a couple years ago through a mutual friend. And outside of my life as founder of Revel 11, I have owned a PR firm for more than 25 years here in Seattle. And Toni hails from LA, as she said, and she owned a PR firm for 25 years and then did something new, which we'll be talking about today. It was an instant connection, wasn't it, Toni?
It
It
was,
was
really
instant
was.
connection. I'm like, I feel like I've known you my entire life.
I know. It's actually been 4 years. I think we met right at the beginning of the pandemic.
That's right. Oh my gosh, time flies when you have a pandemic in the middle. So, Toni is an entrepreneur, corporate trainer, coach, and author with a remarkable track record in public relations, with more than 50 prestigious industry awards to her name. Toni now empowers executives to become confident and effective brand spokespeople through her Know Your Narrative media training network framework. Affectionately known as the Hype Woman, I love that title. Toni is the author of My Hype book and creator of the Hype Method, a professional development program for cultivating team and personal confidence, which we're going to be talking a lot about today. She also has a TED Talk called The Power of Narrative. Welcome. You look
Thank you.
so beautiful
Thank you
today.
so
Well,
much.
you always do, Toni.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm ready for the weekend, I have to say.
Yeah.
After some people know that last week I had COVID and we did an online event, so I'm feeling much better and about 80% there. And I think after this weekend, it's going to be 100%.
Great, great. Well, hope you
So,
get some good
so
rest.
to start our conversation, I wanted just to talk a little bit about life. And M. Scott Peck started his well-known book, The Road Less Traveled, with the simple quote, "Life is hard." It's
Mm.
life is a series of ups and downs, highs and lows. And as I'd like to say, it's a roller coaster, which seems a little bit more exhilarating as a way of talking about life. Add in all of the elements of family, friends, careers, and health. It can be a little overwhelming at times. But I have to say that Toni's book, My Hype book, I think you can see it right there, is
Yeah.
a wonderful way to cultivate confidence in an ongoing way. And Toni, tell us a little bit about this book and how it came to be. I just absolutely love it.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Thank you also for inviting me to be a part of Revel 11 and this um, program that you put on so beautifully. I will tell you, the book came about. I always knew I'd write a book, but this is not the book that I thought I would write. I thought it would be about public relations or entrepreneurship or something like that. But so I've been in PR for 25 years. I ran my PR agency for 10 of those years. And we were, as you said earlier, an award-winning agency. We had won over 50 awards for the work that we had done. We were luxury travel and lifestyle agency. So our clients were luxury hotels and destinations and Fiji Airlines. I think it was Fiji. I think it's changed the name now since then. But so we had really beautiful, fun clients. I mean, my day at the office was flying journalists in and having, 8-course dinners with them at our Michelin restaurants. And it was wonderful. However, as you know, running a business
Yeah,
is hard and it's
of course.
challenging. And I had a rock star team of employees. I had a beautiful creative office space. I had an impressive roster of clients. And for 7 years, I loved it. But then around year 8, I started not loving it as much. The simple things that I used to find great joy in become really taxing and challenging. And I was sort of dialing it in. I wasn't inspired about the work that I was doing anymore. And I wanted to figure out, well, what could I do next? And I really struggled with one, figuring out what to do next, and two, why should you want to do something next? This is working. You're living the entrepreneurial dream. you have a successful agency, you have a rock star team of employees, you have the clients that everybody would love to have. What's the problem? So for 2 years, I really suffered in silence around that frustration because I didn't. It's one thing to say, I don't want to do this anymore because I'm going to do this. It's another thing to say, I don't want to do this and I have no clue what I want to do
Exactly. Yeah.
next.
I
So,
can so relate to that on so many levels.
oh my goodness. And so the other thing about that too is entrepreneurship, owning your business requires a lot of love. And when you aren't loving it, there's nothing for it to reciprocate. So that really caused a strain on the business as well. So finally, at the 10-year mark, I decided, to shut things down, move away from that. I transitioned my employees to contract employees. We moved out of our beautiful creative office space. And I'm at home now working, trying to figure out what's next and realizing I don't even know how to introduce myself because so much of my confidence, my self value had been associated with this agency that I had,
Yeah.
attached to my name. And I suffered a major crisis of confidence. I lived in a lot of shame. I felt like a failure. I felt like, what have you done? You just, blew up the farm. You had everything going for you, and you don't even know what you want to do next. Talk about, a loser.
Capital
So,
L.
right. So I get out of bed one morning and my husband's downstairs watching a documentary about Muhammad Ali. And I'm captivated by his confidence. I am trying to figure out, how did this man maintain his confidence in the face of defeat? How did he maintain it when the country despised him because he didn't support the Vietnam War? How did he maintain it even when he was stricken with Parkinson's disease? I mean, every time you think of a picture, if you close your eyes and you think of Muhammad Ali, you see a man of confidence.
Absolutely.
And he's the one that I think was the first that we called the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And a few clips later, I see right before he's going into a fight, his corner man, his hype man, Boondini Brown, is in his face, ardently yelling, reminding him of his knockouts, his wins, that he was the greatest, he was a champ. And my thought was, well, if we all had a hype man reminding us,
Herein lies the hype book.
exactly. If we all had a hype man, then we'd have that kind of confidence as well. So I thought, I need to make myself a hype book. So I literally sat in my living room floor for 2 days in detail, journaling about my wins, my accomplishments, my attributes, things that made me feel really proud of myself. Not just, I mean, it was yes, big accounts that we won, but I ran the LA Marathon one year. It was tough conversations that I had to have with employees or clients. It was the pro bono work that we did, for clients. It was the volunteer work. I just really poured myself into it for 2 days. And when I tell you, Joni, there was an ascension of confidence that rose up in me because I was now looking at myself through my success lens versus
Yes.
that harsh, critical lens that we tend to give way too much mental real estate to.
So much mental real estate. And why do you think we do that? I mean, we have, because I think I was saying to you the other day, it's almost like, in front of my desk here, I should have all of my successes written down, but I don't, because I'm constantly thinking about all of the things that I need to do better or wish I had or coulda, shoulda, woulda, and all of that. Why do we do that to ourselves?
I think there are a number of reasons. Two that I can think of, however, though, is we are bombarded with the idea of this next thing will make us better. Having this title, living in this neighborhood, making this much money. Nothing ever says, or few things in life say, you're good how you are. You're great. What you've done so far is enough. It's always this next thing. So I think because we're always getting these messages that say we have to do more and be more, we're constantly in this place of striving to get there. And it's the carrot that just keeps,
You took
we'll
the
never
words
catch up to it.
right out of my mouth. I always say I'm chasing the carrot and I never quite get there.
Exactly.
It's always 20 feet in front of me and I'm like, oh, wait, stop. Can you get a little
Right.
bit closer here?
Exactly. Or if you do grab it, there's another bigger one that's
Oh,
in
there's a bigger one. Yeah,
right.
absolutely. I can so relate to that.
The other thing is also when we accomplish things, we, because of those carrots, we're on to the next, and we accomplish and we're on to the next. However, if we have a failure or a setback, if we're misunderstood, if we're mistreated, we'll ruminate over those things for hours, days, weeks, sometimes months and years. And so, if you think about how much time do you spend relishing in the things that make you really happy and proud, how much time do you spend ruminating over the things that have disappointed you? It's usually grossly imbalanced. So, what we spend our mind thinking about is really the most prevalent thing that we see, or lens through which we see ourselves. And I think that's one of the reasons why we do that.
So when you started, before you wrote the book and you started this list and you started, looking at quotes, and I put together a PowerPoint that we're going to invite people to
Oh, I love it.
um, work with on this workshop today. But what started happening to your mental well-being as you started this process of reveling in you?
It lit me up in the best kind of way because it started to set a new standard for where I found my joy, where I found my self-approval. It made me walk in a much greater sense of self-pride and self-confidence because I wasn't measuring it about the things around me. There's a quote that I have in the book about how comparison, it really is the thief of joy because you can have twins, identical twins, and the things that inspires one, the things that frustrates one, thing that frustrates the other, very, very different. So we are all so different. We are made up of different life's experiences, perspectives, challenges, opportunities. Because they are so different, it makes no sense that we compare ourselves to
Yeah.
someone else, and where they are or what they've accomplished, because I'm further along than many people, but I'm far behind many other people. So
Well,
you
and the age
compare.
that we're living in now, it's even more in our face with social media every
Oh,
day,
absolutely.
and it's incessant, and
Mhm.
the comparison of this person over that person, or like you said, there's somebody farther behind but further ahead, and
Right,
how do you catch up with self in that process of analysis? And
right.
so again, what did this do for you?
It shifted things. And it also, I don't think I so much was a type of person that struggled with comparison. And I think it's because in PR, you kind of understand you don't believe everything that you see. Our jobs is to create the beautiful image to make it attractive. But I do think what it helped me to do is to not look at my reality, or what I say is I would encourage I had mostly young women that worked with my company. And I remember they would say, we're depressed because our friends are doing such great things. They're going and they're getting married in the south of France, and they're going on these huge trips, and they're doing all of these things, and we're not really doing anything. And I'd say, okay, girls, here's the thing. Do you remember when you were 8 years old and you had a birthday party, and your mom has pictures from that birthday party in a photo album that's on maybe her coffee table? But 2 hours before that birthday party where everybody was laughing and smiling, you were having a meltdown, maybe, a temper tantrum because you wanted to wear your boots with your tutu, and your mom had another outfit for you. She didn't take a snapshot of that moment, but she did capture all of the happy moments. You cannot compare your everyday to the highlight reels, which is what we see on social
Exactly.
media
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
somebody else. So when
Hmm.
we take inventory of what we are looking at for inspiration, what we are comparing ourselves to, that really helps you to have a smarter, wiser perspective on one, the reality of what you're seeing, and also acknowledging, where you are. But it helped me to be really comfortable and excited about where I am at all times, and to feel really proud of where I've come in, and what I'm doing.
So two things about that is that I love that you can be your own hype person,
Oh
that
my
you
gosh,
don't have
yes.
to have, like Muhammad Ali's hype guy. Like you can find that. And that's what this book is about, is to constantly, if you ever need a little hype, you can go in, after you filled in these pages and it's like, oh yeah, I'm pretty cool.
Right.
And then the other thing is, just I think you said in the book, it's like taking time to reflect, or one of the quotes said,
Yes.
taking time to reflect a little bit on life, because
Right.
again, we're always chasing that carrot versus like, oh wow, maybe, I should be celebrating this success or
Right.
celebrating this feeling of being proud.
Yeah.
And there's just so much in this book that it's like, oh yeah, like maybe I'm better than I think I am. And,
Right.
and what if I stepped into that power? And I have a wonderful quote that you added in the book, but let's pull up this PowerPoint I did. I did it quickly this
Okay.
morning to
Okay.
help us through this, our time here today. Can you all see that? No. Here, let me restart here. Sorry, one second.
No problem.
Okay, so this came from your book, and it's like one of your most valuable assets is your confidence. So let's talk more about that. And you already have, but what else would you say about stepping into that confidence and what it does for you on a daily basis?
When you just said, Muhammad Ali, he did have a hype man. But he was also very, very good at being his own hype man. He was the one that would tell the world how amazing he was. He was the one that called himself the greatest before he was, the greatest. He had a really smart ability to hype himself up, to talk about his best attributes, to even talk about the attributes that he saw of himself in the future. And I think that's one of the things that we do. It is my take on fake it till you make it. And I have two feelings about that. I don't like fake it till you make it when you're pretending, or you are presenting something that you are not. But I do like the fake it till you make it when you put yourself, your heart, your mindset in that place of success and accomplishment, or where you see yourself being and operating in that, in that,
Mhm.
um, in that mentality. It makes such a difference, and it triggers things inside of you that have you walk with your shoulders a little bit, your chin a little bit higher, your shoulders
Hired.
right, shoulders pulled back. But it is a constant reminding yourself of who you are. And I love that he did that. I mean, whenever I see anything about him, I have to stop and watch it, because he was a master of the story, the narrative that he had for himself versus the
Mhm.
narrative of what the world had for him.
So, a question before we move on. Have you ever found that you have had more confidence on a day-to-day basis in your business life versus your personal life? And do you know what I mean by that? Like, I mean, I have found more confidence in my business. It's like, okay, business is not a problem. Like, I've got this, but like sometimes in my personal life, I'm like, kind of floundering. And I do think that, that was one of the reasons why I started Rebel 11 so many years ago, is that I had gotten so lost in my business that I forgot who I was.
Yeah,
And I needed to go and find my true self. And that really equals confidence, right? In who
right.
I am as a person every day. Did you ever encounter that?
Oh, for sure. I especially encountered it after I closed the agency, because I didn't know what I was doing next. And I was in this place of, who are you? And where are you drawing your confidence from? And I also realized one of the neat things about the book is, so I divided into 6 categories. There's your major milestones, significant victories, health and wellness achievements, good and charitable deeds, life adventures, and then lessons learned, because things don't always go the way we want to. But instead of feeling victim, how do we extrapolate the thing out of that, the lesson that we learned that makes us that much smarter, or able to give somebody else advice on those things? The reason I did those 6 categories, because I think we draw confidence from all of those places. It helps us to see ourselves not just in how we are as in work and professionally, but what are those good and charitable deeds? What are those things that, how am I contributing to society? What are those life adventures that help me to realize myself? You just took a fantastic hiking trip. I'm sure while you were on the hike, there was a lot of time to think and reflect
Mhm.
and relish in just moments of your life and
Absolutely.
moments of right then. Those are things that help build our confidence. So I'm very particular about, don't just draw it from the things that you accomplish work wise, but
Mhm.
just how are you? What are those things? There's a line in here that says, you set your standard for success. It's not the societal standard. It
No,
is
it's you.
you. It's what
Yeah.
is it that made you particularly feel really happy, really proud, really inspired? What lit you up? Draw from that, draw your confidence from that.
Yeah, and just to your point about, me hiking, I hiked 18 days straight in
Wow.
Costa Rica from coast to coast. I had a lot of time to think and a lot of time to reflect and dream. And it was the most amazing gift to myself. And I need to remember that, as I walk this path being home and, in work every day,
Right.
that that was a gift I gave to myself that will keep on giving and giving and
Yes.
giving. So
Yes.
that was a huge accomplishment. So let's go to the next slide. So we have some opportunities for you, and I want you, Toni, to talk about the this word bank and
Okay.
how you want to find confidence here.
All right. So if do you mind if I read a little bit from the book?
I would love that. I would
Okay.
love that so much.
All right. So this section is called word power. And it says words, they're used to express, identify, declare, label, position, frame, persuade, convince, and influence, all because they have power. Since words have the power to impact movement and change, this is your opportunity to start by putting them into action on your own behalf. Begin reviewing the words on these words here on this page. Apply those to describe the qualities that you are. Since my hype is about self-awareness and self-discovery, I don't want you to feel pressured I'm not going to read that part. That's more the instruction. So what this is designed is, how often do we say things like, oh, I'm such an idiot. "Oh, that was so stupid of me to do that. I'm so stupid." We will beat ourselves up over those words all the time. And really, words have power. The things that we are saying to ourselves about ourselves impact how we see ourselves. So I created this actual exercise. I would love for everyone here to pull out those words in here, at least 3 of them, that represent who you are. That really, if that your friends would say, "Oh my goodness, that one friend, she is so creative." Pull out 3 of those words. What happens when you start seeing yourself for these great attributes and qualities that you have, it really helps switches the perception, the lens through which we're seeing ourselves, because we're constantly saying those negative things to ourselves. I'm an idiot. I'm so stupid. I can't tell you how many times I hear that. And I'm like, well, what are those loving words that you have about yourself that you can say to yourself that really help you to get in the habit of seeing yourself, in a much better light for who you really are. I truly believe we are more a compilation of the things that we do really well in life. And reflecting on those help us to do much better and see ourselves better and show up for ourselves so much better.
Absolutely. And we would love for you to put these in the chat. I would say
Yeah.
mine are, I did 4 So
Okay.
creative, warm, curious, and adventurous. That's how I'm
Mm,
feeling today. And
I love it.
probably, for the next week or two, those would be my words, maybe longer.
Yes, I
I've
would love to
always really,
see.
what?
I said
Pardon?
I always love to see what people's words are in when they do this. So yes, put your words that reflect who you are in the chat. And so on the page, there's a word bubble. And I
Oh,
do
yeah.
because we change who we are.
Here
And
we go. I've got it.
yeah, we change. We're always changing. There are some
Yes.
days where, I feel really proud. There are some days that would describe me as boundless. I'm sure when you were on that hike, you know, there's a sense of boundlessness there because you're just walking the earth.
I'm walking the earth and I'm seeing the animals and living in the flora and fauna. It was pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
Luann said friendly, natural, responsible. I love that. Kira, blessed, at ease, curious, tenacious.
Oh, I love it.
Shannon, adventurous, creative, calm, and curious. Oh, some of mine. So Shannon, here we are.
I love it.
Bonnie, deep, kind, and pusher.
Mm,
Lovely. Luann, sexy.
I love that.
Woohoo!
Way to go,
Write it
Luann.
down and walk into that.
I know it.
Cynthia, adventurous, curious, generous. Knowing Cynthia, that's absolutely true. Kathy, adventurous, generous, kind, purposeful, curious. Like, how are you all feeling? Georgina, determined, sensitive, sincere. These are all so beautiful. And what if we walked into these
Right.
beautiful words every day and lived
Yeah.
from this? So
Right.
Kelly, adventurous, kind, curious, and
Love
Karen,
it.
adventurous, creative, and curious. These are beautiful. And what is this? I'm like, I already feel better. Toni,
Right. What is it? I mean, if you just take a moment to sit in that, if it's to seen, am I saying her name right? To seen? I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Cheerful, kind, sensitive, curious. Just sit in a moment in that cheerful. If you just take a moment to sit in that, I feel cheerful. I feel kind. I feel sensitive. I feel curious. When you take a moment to really sit in those feelings, those words, there's something that it does to you that makes you just feel better and to see yourself, so much better. So if we're in the habit of calling ourselves out for these beautiful things, how much better are we than when we're calling ourselves out when we, make mistakes or aren't so excited about ourselves.
so let's just take 30 seconds to sit in silence and
Yeah,
think about these. I think that would be beautiful.
great
So
idea.
let's just do that. Take a deep breath. Just fabulous. I feel so much better. So
I,
now we're going to be talking about overcoming. And I want to read some of this section here. It's the overcoming section. I'm going to
okay.
switch my screen here.
Mhm.
So one of the things, this is a quote that I love that you also have in the book. This is a quote that I quote often: change your thoughts. And this is a beautiful one from Wayne Dyer: change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. And so, overcoming, we all have had to overcome a lot of things in our lives. And this is one exercise that you have in here, Toni, that is such a gift because, again, we forget to give ourselves the gift of realizing how many things that we've overcome.
Right.
And you have a whole beautiful list in here. Helen Keller overcame disability. Beethoven overcame deafness. J.K. Rowling overcame rejection so many times.
Mhm.
Um, Jesse Owens overcame radical discrimination. Nelson Mandela overcame imprisonment. And it goes on. Jennifer Hudson overcame tragedy. Drew Barrymore overcame substance abuse. Dr. Seuss overcame rejection. We'll stop there. I mean, there's so many here, and it's just a beautiful reminder that many famous people have overcome a lot of things, and we as humans overcome things every day. So, do you want to read anything from the overcoming section?
Yes, yes. And I will say we tend to marvel at celebrities and
Yes.
prominent people for the things that they've overcome. And we don't always take the time to recognize what we've actually overcome.
Right.
We will think about something that happened to us and feel regret or discipline or that we were victim to something, as opposed to realizing, but you did overcome it because you're here today to talk about it. And if our perspective is not what happened to us, but the fact that we overcame that happened to
Yes.
us, we see ourselves as much stronger than we do the vulnerable person that happened to. So
Mhm.
this section was really important for me because let's not just marvel in what other people, prominent people have done, but let's really take inventory. What are some things that I overcame? It could be overcoming stage fright. It could be overcoming fear of speaking up for yourself. It could be overcoming abuse. It could be overcoming cancer. It could be overcoming a lot of things. So when do we take time to look at that? So I want to read a little bit from this. It says, in one form or another, you've overcome adversities, and because of those misfortunes, you've been made stronger, smarter, and more capable of facing and accomplishing greater things. Yes, the process can be daunting and extremely discouraging, but with a dose of faith and determination, you've not only found a way to clear the hurdles, but you're now equipped to encourage others facing the same mountain. So I love this because it helps us to see ourselves in our strength, because we got past that thing that in many cases we thought, yep, this is going to be the death of me. This right here, this is
Absolutely.
going to take me under. This is the end of it all. I remember telling my husband on many occasions when I face things as an entrepreneur, no, this is really bad and this is going to take me down. And he would just listen, patiently and say, "No, babe, I think you've gotten past some pretty hard things. I think you'll survive this again." And I can look back now at those things. It was sitting in my floor those 2 days and journaling about the things that I'd overcome, that I thought, wow, I'm much stronger than I think I ever gave myself credit for being.
For
So
sure. And I'd like to add in on that two things. One is, business. I've had many, many major changes in my career in 30 plus years of owning my own business. And, one was before I started my business, I got laid off from a corporate job. I was 27 years old. And somehow, some way I started a business at 27. And, after, laying on the floor and pounding a little bit, like, what am I going to do next? These doors opened, again, when, the downturn of 08 and 09, I started a coffee company during that time
oh
and,
wow.
with some partners. And, out of it's the phoenix rising. It's like out of the ashes becomes this, beautiful opportunity. And it can also be personal. I had a terrible breakup about 12 years ago and was in a horrible mindset about life and love and family and who I was. And I ended up meeting the love of my life. And we've been together 11 years now. So we want you to take some time and maybe 3 to 5 things, and become an overcomer. That's me. That's your quote for the day. And maybe put some things in the chat, like what have you overcome? Like, what's an example, and maybe what is the phoenix rising part of that? So, or it can just be a simple statement. So let's go ahead and do that. And if you want to talk a little bit more here, Toni, about other things that you've overcome while people are thinking about this, that would be great.
Yes.
I mean, I have so many.
Isn't it interesting when you just give yourself a couple of minutes to really think about, wait, what is it? I remember I had a teacher back in high school. My parents divorced when I was in high school, and we moved from Boston to Alabama. And so when you're 15 and you have to make a big move, that's hard enough as it own. But then my parents divorced, and I was really, really not doing well in school. I couldn't concentrate, I couldn't focus. And I remember one teacher who did not have any empathy for the position or didn't even take the time to see where I was. Remember, she told me that I wasn't made for school and I should just go to trade school, because everybody was starting to talk about college. And I remember feeling such a way about that. But I look back now, I realize I overcame the doubt that she had in me and then went on, to college and went on to pursue my career. But sometimes it's overcoming the limited perspectives that other people have about you and realizing that you overcame their doubts in order to believe in yourself. I feel like I've always been sort of that underdog and that person that most people didn't see me coming. um, but there was something about my own determination
Yeah.
that allowed me to pursue and to push past. Overcoming, closing my agency was a really, 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 tough one. Overcoming really bad breakups, before I
Mhm.
got married. And I will tell you, here's the other thing too. Sometimes we realize when we over the things that we overcome, we realize strength and we realize um, what is that Steve Jobs quote? You can't connect the dots look going forward. You can only connect the dots looking backward. And
Yes.
you look at the things that you've overcome, and it almost helps you to navigate your way, and you land in a space and everybody's like, oh, you always planned to be here. No, I didn't.
That's funny because I sent that quote to somebody this morning. I was reading through your book again this morning, and she goes, "Oh my God, this is so perfect."
Mhm.
I want to note a couple of things here that are in the chat about, divorce. That's a huge
Yes.
one. Making that decision and then going through the process and coming out the other side.
Mhm.
COVID, that's all impacted us on so many levels. And Shannon, thank you for sharing this. I overcome having curly hair as a kid who just wanted to fit in. And, I just want to say is like a lot of these things that happened when we were really young are, things that, I was telling somebody the other day, I was a fat kid and I was, quote, from Darlene Petrie in, eighth grade, cute in the face, but not around the waist.
Mhm.
And I was in an elementary school, in gym, I was always the last one to get picked because I was the fat, heavy kid. And those are things that stay with you for a long time. And
Yeah.
it's an ongoing overcoming
Right.
that overcoming, that's me. That's, those things still float into your head. And when you want to just fit in or Bonnie says, as a child, I was called retarded. I ended up teaching radiation physics.
Wow. I love it.
Bonnie, rock
Yeah.
star. Uh,
That's awesome.
yeah, Kira, crushing social anxiety, fear of failure and judgment. So
Yeah.
many things. And everyone, all of us have our own story about, our family of origin, the kids that we've met and, careers, but we are all overcomers.
Sure.
And it's such a beautiful gift that we have. So
Yes.
I just want to pull out a quote that you said. We are not defined by the things that we have to overcome. We are defined by our willingness to overcome them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really true, is there's strength in the willingness to look at what's in front of you and to jump over that with strength
Right.
and confidence.
Right.
And
Yeah, the
so,
thing is, even if you're crawling over it,
yeah, even if
even
you're
if you're just
crawling, sometimes you crawl for a long time before you get
right.
there.
Exactly. But the fact that you found a way to move past it, you become a testimony, you become an example, you become a source of encouragement for those people that are facing that now. And you can say, hey, you will get to the other side. There's something about that should make you feel confident and smart and able and capable and realize your strength, those are the places where we draw our confidence.
Mhm. And Kathy, thank you for sharing about overcoming feeling of value came from my looks and recently breast implants and illness and its devastating effects on my health. I have so many friends who are going through, breast cancer and other types of cancers, and I just want to honor that is a journey, a real, inward facing journey
Right.
that nobody wants, but we're given sometimes. And Kathy, my heart goes out to you, and step into your strength and power and health, and know that you'll get well.
Yes, yes.
So let's take some moments to give yourself permission and really shine and then bask in the glow. Um, this is about bragging. So let's talk about bragging, Toni.
I love this. Okay, so here's the thing is the one thing about the book is that this is it, there's no modesty. This is the no modesty zone. I think I have a page that says it's got a circle and it's got modesty and there's a strike through it. This is a no modesty zone. This is where you give yourself permission to really brag about yourself, to be proud of yourself. Most women aren't going to stand on the rooftop or even in a room and shout about the great things that they've done. We just aren't made up that way. We are taught to be modest and quiet and, walk with humility and not say things, not brag about what we've done. And so I would love to take this time to hear about what are some of the amazing things that you have done that make you really proud. It can be in any of the categories. It can be a major milestone. It can be a significant victory. It can be a life adventure. It can be a health and wellness achievement. It could be a good and charitable deed. It can be a lesson that you learned. Those are the 6 categories. I think someone asked earlier to repeat those.
Yeah, I put those in the chat.
Yes, but what is it that you have done that you just feel really proud of? And I just would love to hear those things because when we take a moment to share them out loud, there's something about it also that inspires people that hear that from you. When I hear your story, I feel inspired. When I hear the things that you've accomplished, I feel inspired about that. So if we can take a moment to do that, and I think that is something that is so important that we get comfortable with giving ourselves permission to really shine and bask in that shine. We did an event. I do a really fun event, and I think I've told you about it called the Table
Yes,
of Confidence.
I love this so much.
And it's a you never know, it's going to be different. Everyone is different, but we did one and we told everybody that a special guest was coming to the dinner. And it turns out everybody that at the dinner was a special guest. And so everybody got these cards and they had to answer the question on the card. And the question basically had everybody brag about themselves. So one by one, people had to go up to the front and share something that they were really proud of. And at first, nobody really wanted to do it, but it became such a liberating thing. The women were lined up to get up to the front of the room of the event venue to share about the beautiful things that they had done. There is something that happens to you and also something infectious that happens to the people around you when we take a moment to brag on ourselves.
That's amazing. So, Shannon, I have to say this is amazing. So 6 months ago, Shannon donated 65% of her liver to an acquaintance from
Wow.
college. Both sections of our livers have grown back to full size.
Wow.
Amazing. Thank you for
That
sharing.
is
That is an
awesome.
over-the-top brag.
That is really, really, really awesome. Oh
That's
my goodness.
awesome. Amazing. And then there's so many beautiful ones. Karen, I started the first rock steady boxing program in the Pacific Northwest to help people with Parkinson's live better. I've heard about your program,
Oh,
Karen,
I love
and
that.
that's phenomenal. Kelly cleaned my garage, and in giving a homeless man a tent, I provided him a home free of charge.
Wow, that's so
Fabulous. That's
you
beautiful.
get kudos for cleaning that garage because mine could really use
Yes.
that. So I'm inspired by you cleaning the garage and also to think about the things that I could do for the homeless in the process of doing it.
Absolutely. So Bonnie said, I spoke up for my dad when he had Alzheimer's. He was full of anxiety in the face of an awful physician. I found a voice to say, no, we're not going to do that. To
Wow.
Miss Bully Doctor, I get that. Having gone through 10 years of that with my mom. Good job.
Mhm.
There's a lot of bully doctors. Oh, one of the bully doctors of my mom's goes, well, you're next. I'm like, you know
Oh,
what? You don't say that to a daughter when you're like dealing with
right.
your mom who has Alzheimer's, but that's another story. Kathy, become a person who tries hard to get curious in all situations to really understand where someone is coming from and try to meet others with grace and space.
Mm.
Um, oh, Cynthia, this is so great. And so Cynthia is a dear friend here in Seattle. She's an incredible food writer and author of many, many cookbooks. And it says, thanks in part to Revel 11, I developed a workshop to help people gather and preserve family heritage recipes. It's a very
Oh,
fulfilling class to teach, something I'm really enthusiastic about. And
oh, I
she's
love
going to be
that.
doing a workshop here in Seattle. It's a very meaningful presentation. So
Wow.
Cynthia, we'll have to do that again on Revel 11. I just, I love that. Um, so Luann's just said, Luann said, well, everyone has done so many wonderful things. For me, I'm glad to have become a vegetarian and beginning a regular yoga practice 35 years ago. It truly feels like the person I am.
Oh, I love it.
Beautiful. That's so beautiful. And then Christine, I really appreciate this talk today and hearing about so many amazing people here. I'm struggling as I was recently laid off, and it's difficult to think of the glow when I'm so focused on my job. Focus on life, I would say. And then your job will come, but that's just from past experiences of being laid off. And
Yeah.
Richard always joins us, which is lovely, and facilitated transforming a government organization into the best performing one in North America. I love that.
Wow.
So many amazing brags. And thank you so much for sharing, everyone. It's really a beautiful opportunity. And so this is a quote from Marianne Williamson that's in the book. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be?
Right.
I so resonate with that because I do think we all hold ourselves back from being our most powerful selves most of the time in our life, I would say. What about you? Do you think that's accurate?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? It's so funny. I was focused on this quote and thinking about all of these brags over here.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a level of confidence to accomplish the things. I mean, these are really, I love these brags. I want to take a screenshot of this.
Oh, we'll send them to you afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
It takes a level of accomplishment to, I mean, a level of confidence to accomplish these things. And this quote here says, who are you not to be? If you are not giving yourself permission to walk fully in who it is you're supposed to do, you cannot do these things. So don't, when we aren't allowing ourselves to be who we are supposed to be, when we're seeing ourselves as less than, not equal, not able, we are robbing I look at all of these things, and there are people that are impacted by everybody's courage and everybody's brag over here. So when
Mhm.
we stop to think about who are we not to be, actually, who are we not to be? If I don't step into who I'm called to be, the authority of who I am not only robbing myself, but I'm robbing myself of the impact that I could
Yes.
have, on other people.
I
And that
think
just,
that's so
you
true.
were reading that, it made me really reflect on all of these and how these things, our strength to say yes to ourselves and do these things, allow us to have an impact that goes beyond, ways that we could probably ever know. I mean, think about the people who wrote their cookbooks, the heritage cookbooks, and those people that went on to use those cookbooks or those recipes to then create their own family traditions. There, we just have
Absolutely.
no idea how our impact, goes on. Or the one who generously donated her kidney. Think about the life, there, and how that
Absolutely.
person living will impact, others. And I think you said Richard, his name is Richard, facilitating workshops. Anyway, I could go on and
On
on.
and on. And for those of you who are maybe having um a hard time, like just trying to find that confidence again, I do want to read this Steve Jobs quote because I think it is so powerful at
Yes.
so many times in your life. The power of reflection. So in the book, of course, you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path.
Yes,
That well-worn path,
exactly.
it can go so many directions. And, Bonnie, I think it was Christine that, got laid off. When I got laid off when I was 27 years old, and, it opened a path I could never have imagined. And, it took time to step into that, but all of a sudden, like, oh, I own a company, and that has happened again and again. Out of the ashes is the phoenix,
Yeah.
and there's just so much strength to be said in, one of the things that I do when I'm going through a hard time is, you know, I walk a lot, and I do my walking meditation, and I have a morning routine, but I do that really every day, whether I'm, low or high or somewhere in between, which is just life. I do that. And, Toni, do you have a morning ritual that helps you stay in that confidence mindset for your life?
I do. It took me a while to get there because I used to be one of these people that woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, no matter where I was in the world. And now it took me a couple of years to give myself permission, but I have very quiet and very leisurely mornings. I have a little devotion time. I have a prayer time. And my husband, he's such a sweetheart. He always brings me coffee in bed, he gets up much earlier than I do, and he'll send me a text message, "You ready for coffee?" He brings that to me. But that's like my little quiet time. And that really helps me to ground myself and get ready, for the day. I'm also a person that will stay up, until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, working. But having that morning routine that is really dedicated to my own personal time, it's been something that's really been helpful.
So just a couple of quick little questions for you. What
Sure.
would you tell your younger self today?
Um, that I don't have to be a people pleaser.
I'm still learning that. Yeah.
um, and and that I honestly that I am good enough. I think I spent a lot of my years trying to prove that I was good enough, and that started in childhood because I was always the little one. I was the smallest one, and so because of that, I don't think anybody had any confidence, in my ability to do
Mhm.
things, but it made me work a little bit harder. But I think a little bit of people pleasing comes out of that, and so that would definitely be something I tell my younger self.
And what is the best piece of advice you ever received?
I'm going to say it comes from my husband. He says, you need to let yourself off the hook quicker.
Love that.
Now what I used to get frustrated because if he did something wrong, he'd say, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then he'd move on. And I think he's not sorry enough. He is not sorry enough. He's not. And I realize he's very sincere in his apology. He's very sincere in his regret of anything that he does in life, not just with me, was wrong, but he moves on. I would be the one that I
Gift.
beat myself, up about it. And again, relishing in those things as opposed to move on, forgive yourself, forgive whoever, let yourself off the hook.
That is such a good reminder. And what would you like to leave everyone with today?
Um, I would like to leave everyone with the inspiration or here sometimes I have a girlfriend that will call me and she'll say, "Can I give you permission to give yourself some permission?" And I love that.
That's
And
amazing.
so I want to give you permission to give yourself permission to be proud of yourself, to take a moment to really think about who you are, how you contribute, the impact that you make, because there is some. We don't always think of it because we don't think about it first, but we all do have impact. So I want to give you permission to give yourself permission.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Did you all just take that in? Did you all just take that
I
in? Give
hope so.
yourself permission to give yourself permission.
Yeah.
I love it. Toni, it is always such a delight to have you on Revel 11, to have you as my friend. And, I feel like Toni and I have had lifetimes together because there's just so much energy, and I'm just so grateful to have you in my life. So
Thank you. I
thank
feel the
you for
same way.
joining us today. And